Laura and Marco are headed for the United States. Hello, I'm Mike Naso with the latest video update on the tropics. This is as of 11 p.m. midnight, late Sunday, early Monday, as we watch two tropical storms. One is Marco. It was a hurricane, and it's rapidly weakening and approaching the North Gulf Coast. The other is Laura, which is getting closer to becoming a hurricane and is a much more significant threat down the road. We're going to track both these storms on this update. Here's the latest on Marco. Now, this is as of 10 p.m. Central, 11 p.m. Eastern. It's at 26.8 north, 87.6 west. Winds are down now to 70. It was a hurricane, a Category 1. And the Hurricane Center notes the intensity could be even lower than this. It's fallen apart pretty quick, which is great news. It's moving north-northwest at 12. The Hurricane Center thinks that as it weakens and pulls to the west, it will eventually make landfall, and because of that, we do have hurricane warnings from Morgan City to the mouth of the Pearl River, and a hurricane watch including Lake Pontchartrain, Lake Maurepas, Metropolitan, New Orleans, and tropical storm warnings all along the Louisiana coast and watches all the way to the Florida Panhandle. However, the Hurricane Center notes, as you can see on this map, tropical storm winds are only in this little area, and it's weakening quickly, so there's no guarantee that much of this coastline will get anything at all from Marco, but the area that does get hit, it could be pretty nasty. Again, it could be close to hurricane strength, but right now it ain't looking too good. The storm surge is a big threat with this system. You can see the water rises 3 to 5 feet near Lake Borgne and areas here near the mouth of the Mississippi River, 1 to 3 feet near Mobile Bay, and then 2 to 4 feet over by Morgan City and Intercoastal City, 1 to 3 feet all the way back to Sabine Pass. Remember, too, in this area it's very swampy, very marshy, and so you have an onshore flow here with a landfalling tropical cyclone. You're going to get water rises. But again, if the system continues to weaken and pools more to the west offshore as it dissipates, these might be overestimates, so that would be great news, but we just don't know yet. Here's the satellite imagery, and you can see what's happening with Marco. This wind shear is just shredding it, and the center is decoupling, which, in layman's terms, Marco is getting decapitated by this wind shear. And that's why it was a hurricane. They've been zigzagging around. It's not a hurricane anymore. If anything, it's weaker than they're saying. However, it still is bringing heavy rainfall and gusty winds towards the Gulf Coast, but as it decouples, you'll see a lot of these storms blow off to the northeast, and you'll see the center straggle to the west. And that's why even the Hurricane Center said it's possible that it dissipates as it's like coming ashore. So we just don't know. There's a lot of uncertainty with Marco, but you guys need to be prepared. Now, this is a rainfall estimate, and you can see this was when it was a hurricane still. But again, anywhere from 2 to 6 inches here possible around the mouth of the Mississippi River, including all the way over to Mobile, because this is still a wet tropical cyclone. Looking at the radar, I'm not seeing too much in the way of the actual center on the long range, but look here in the panhandle of Florida, some very, very heavy thunderstorms. In fact, if I zoom on in, this is impacting areas like Crawfordville and Carabel, Apalachicola, Port St. Joe. You guys are getting buffeted with some nasty weather. There's Mexico Beach, the hard-hit area from a Category 5 hurricane back in 2018. The key messages with Marco: number 1, strong winds, life-threatening surge, and heavy rain are expected from Marco along portions of the Gulf Coast beginning on Monday, now. Interest in these areas should follow any advice given by local government officials. Number 2, Tropical Storm Laura could bring additional surge rainfall and winds to portions of the Gulf Coast by midweek, and so this could result in a prolonged period of hazardous weather in areas that may be already impacted by Marco. So interest should monitor the progress of Marco and Laura over the next few days, okay? So let's get to Laura. Laura is going to become the focus once Marco gets out of here, because Laura is a much more serious hurricane threat. As of 11 p.m., Laura was at 20.1 north, 76.6 west. That's near eastern Cuba. Winds were increased. It's strengthening to 65 miles per hour, and is moving west-northwest very quickly at 21, and you can see the forecast brings it right along the south coast of Cuba, and by this time tomorrow leaving western Cuba, and then become a hurricane by Tuesday morning, and then possibly a major hurricane, a Category 2 or 3, by the time Wednesday night rolls around as it makes landfall. Again, it could be the Houston area, it could be, say, areas of the Mississippi coastline, but Louisiana, you guys really appear to be in the crosshairs of Laura. But again, there's still a lot of time to watch it, but right now, these computer models really like a Louisiana landfall from what could be a powerful hurricane. I did want to note we do have watches and warnings for the Cayman Islands, tropical storm warnings. We also have Cienfuegos and areas of western Cuba and the dry Tortugas of the Florida Keys under tropical storm warnings, and a tropical storm watch for the Florida Keys from Craig Key to Key West and the dry Tortugas, as these winds of tropical storm force here are going to clip the Keys as Laura pulls on off towards the west-northwest. Now, as of right now, as I mentioned, the Hurricane Center's forecasting possibly up to a Category 3. Now, Marco, it was a Category 1. Marco is now a tropical storm. There's very little difference. Marco is down here, some damage potential. Laura is forecast to be more in this range, which is getting towards extensive to potentially devastating. And so we're going to watch Laura very carefully, because if Laura does become a Category 3 or higher, which is a major hurricane, the damage potential begins to get quite intense. So this is why you need to be prepared along the Louisiana coastline for when Laura does make her final approach. This is the GFS computer model as of 18Z, and you can see it makes Laura a very powerful hurricane near Houston, Galveston, maybe Port Arthur area, and that would be sometime on Thursday. We have the hurricane model. This is the HMON as of 12Z, makes Laura a Category 4 hurricane to the west of Galveston, which would be horrific. I mean, that would drive a surge right into Galveston Bay. We do not want to see that. And then the HWRF model as of 18Z makes Laura a very high-end Category 4 headed for the Texas-Louisiana border area. So make sure your preparations are ready, because Laura's on her way. Again, tropical storm force winds through the Keys tomorrow, and then by the time, say, Wednesday rolls around, that would be the time the winds from Laura begin to impact the coast. But again, anywhere from the mid-Texas coast back to Apalachicola on the Panhandle, everybody needs to be watching what happens with Laura over the coming days. You can see this is the rainfall forecast. Now, this will be changing as time goes by, but once you get the rainfall from Marco and then the rainfall from Laura, it's going to be a very sloshy, wet, very tropical atmosphere along the Gulf Coast of Louisiana during the entire week. So the key messages with Laura: number one, tropical storm conditions expected across much of Cuba through Monday. Heavy rainfall is likely. Cuba, Jamaica. Jamaica? You guys are getting pounded with rain. I'll show you that in a second. Mudslides, life-threatening flash and urban flooding, and the dry Tortugas of the Keys could have tropical storm conditions on Monday, and that'll go into the lower Keys. And then number three, while the details of the long-range track and intensity remain uncertain, Laura is forecast to strengthen over the Gulf of Mexico, and there is an increasing risk of dangerous storm surge, wind, and rainfall impacts along the Gulf Coast, and that's the same area impacted by Marco. And so you have to remain very vigilant and monitor the progress of these systems. Here's the water vapor imagery of Laura. The center is right here in Cuba. Guantanamo Bay had a gust getting close to hurricane force. Look at this bursting. You see where Jamaica is? Jamaica is right where I circled there. They are just getting pounded with heavy rainfall. And again, Laura's going to make that move along the south coast of Cuba over the next 24 hours. And it looks pretty good. Very good ventilation. I'm very impressed with it. It's serious stuff. Upper level divergence is blowing up over the top of it. That's very favorable for thunderstorm activity. And the wind shear you can see in contrast to Marco over here getting shredded. Laura has this blue, which is very favorable. So it should have a very favorable environment moving into the Gulf. So we're going to watch Marco on a fast approach to the Gulf Coast as it weakened from a hurricane into a tropical storm. Still severe impacts. And then once Marco gets out of here, the focus will shift here to Laura, strengthening now near eastern Cuba on a track towards becoming a significant hurricane in the Gulf of Mexico. I'm Mike Naso. I'll be back with continuous coverage of Marco as tomorrow progresses, and then later on in the week, more on Laura.